I, 21-year-old female, want to preface with the fact that I do love my dad, 59-year-old male. However, I've reached my breaking point. My father has always had a passion for race car driving. My father finally found the time and money in his 30s to pursue this dream seriously. He has a lot of trophies in the storage room of our house from his approximately 10 years of racing, plus some VHS tapes. However, he never got to go pro because racing is expensive, and a lot of what he was making back in the races wasn't going back into his car and stuff as he had some substance issues. He quit racing when I was 5. Since my birth, he has directed his passion onto me, even more so since he quit racing. I was literally born while he was watching a rerun of one of his idols races on the hospital TV in my mom's room, or so he says. He even named me after his idol's daughter, first and middle name. He has spent my entire life trying to get me into racing. While I admit some aspects are fun, especially riding shotgun at a drag race a couple times, I have zero interest in racing, amateur or professional. Aside from just not having any particular desire to do it, it's dangerous as all hell. My father got injured a lot during his racing years and was almost burned alive once. No thanks. My father won't listen. I tell him no. He tells me to try it. I tell him it's dangerous. He tells me about safety measures and how I won't care when I'm finally doing it. I tell him my passion is to be a novelist. He tells me I can just write novels on the side. My life has constantly been having racing and get good grades shoved down my throat. Yesterday, he called me up to see how I was doing, and I told him about some essays I have due soon and how I had some difficult customers at work and I was tired and stressed. How does he reply? By telling me I could just quit my job, drop out, move back in with him, and start racing. He said he'd been putting money away for me whenever I'm ready to do it. I told him no, and asked why he didn't just give me the money for college. I'm paying everything by myself, and he's the only family member to not give or offer any financial help. He said I'm clearly handling that fine, and this money is for my future career as the best female NASCAR driver. I told him that I didn't want to be a race car driver, and that he needed to stop pushing it on me, that it wasn't my fault he failed at his dream, and I didn't exist for him to live vicariously through despite the fact he clearly seems to think otherwise. He got defensive, saying I was being a brat and out of line, then tried to laugh it off, and I told him I needed to go. We said our goodbyes and hung up. My mom texted me today. She and Dad are amicable nowadays, to tell me that Dad was hurt by what I said and was feeling bad. I told her that he's been pushing my buttons my entire life, and I've told him to stop politely every time, and it hasn't worked. Maybe I'm too angry to see it, but was I the jerk? Comment 1. Not the idiot at all. Also, just FYI, trying to live through your kids like this and dismissing their dreams and trying to substitute them for your own is classic narcissistic parenting behavior. Him withholding money that's supposedly for you unless you fulfill his wishes is another sure sign. I'm sorry to tell you that even as you get older, this will never not be an issue between you. You'll likely always get the blame for disappointing him, and there will be attempts at emotional manipulation that come with that. For example, him calling your mom to tell her how hurt he was, which is also an example of triangulation, another favorite tactic of narcissists. I don't know how to advise you about this except to say there's no shortage of info, videos, articles, self-helps, etc. on how to navigate life with narcissistic parents. The most important step is establishing firm boundaries. When the narcissistic parent continues to violate those boundaries, you may have to go no or low contact. Be firm in what you want to do and pursue it to the fullest. You have nothing to feel guilty about hugs. Comment 2, not the idiot. Like you said, he can't live vicariously through you. It's not your fault his dreams didn't work out, but you have your own life, dreams, and aspirations. If you did decide to become a NASCAR driver, you'd be miserable because you don't want to do it. Ask your dad if he'd be happy to have a daughter who is unhappy in her career. His answer will tell you all you need to know. Stick to what makes you happy. Your life belongs to you, and we aren't here for a long time. Comment 3. Saying I learned in therapy. Like most therapy sayings, it makes you want to slap the person saying it, especially if they're smiling smugly, but it's also 1000% accurate. Your parents don't just push your buttons, they installed them. Basically, No one can get under your skin quite like a parent. Not the idiot at all. It sounds like what you said was a long time coming, and he was always going to be hurt whenever he realized you weren't going to live out his fantasy for him. Now, for the next story. My 24-year-old father had fallen seriously ill a while back and had to be admitted to the hospital. But the issue, though, is that my 25-year-old brother was against giving him treatment. When my girlfriend and I told him that he was not well, he refused to admit him there. He said that my dad was old and that injecting unnecessary medicines would just cause him more suffering and prolong it. That he deserved to pass away peacefully at home. I told him that was ridiculous and that I am going to get him treated. He flipped out at that and said he should be the one making the decision as he's older and that I have no idea what I'm talking about. I said I don't care, and that he can't stop me from getting my father medical treatment. He and his girlfriend protested, but I wouldn't budge. He asked me how I would pay the money as it would be really expensive. I told him I will use what I can, but that I would mortgage the house by asking my father to give me power of attorney if funds were low. He was conscious even though he was really unwell. He got mad at that and said I can't threaten to spend his inheritance or blackmail him and to mind my language. But as I wouldn't back down, he reluctantly agreed with it. He didn't accompany me immediately, but showed up at the hospital later to check on him, etc. He was also having a long conversation with my dad in private with his girlfriend and seemed to care a lot now. But he's not talking to me because he said I don't know how to respect him and that I was being really discourteous, etc. Am I the idiot? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot one. I realize it might be an uncomfortable conversation to have, but you need to discuss this with your father and see what he would like to do regarding treatment too. Your brother is a huge AH, not only because he is not entitled to anything your dad has, but the fact that your dad is not even dead and all he can think is how much money he gonna get is just despicable. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here except Dad. You and your brother need to both sit with him and discuss this now. How does he want to pass? And if the house is written as his inheritance, then you can't mortgage it against both their wishes. Time to stop thinking about rudeness. This is literally life and death. You have to face it yourself one day, and the courtesy of doing so before they die is important. Comment 3. Your dad is still alive, so it is his asset, not your brother's inheritance, nor yours to mortgage. You don't mention any competency issues for your father. If he is competent enough to sign a power of attorney, he is also currently competent enough to make his own decisions about a mortgage. Everyone sucks here. Now, for the next story. I, 21-year-old female, had to have Uncle C as an account holder due to some issues setting the account up 3 years ago, and we just never had him removed. I never worried about him doing anything with it because he was well off enough not to need what little I had. I have an agreement with my grandparents on my car. They own it outright, and I'm paying them back half the price without interest, same deal they made with all their kids and my sister. My aunt, Uncle C's wife, asked my grandparents if they were planning on gifting my cousin a car for graduation, like they did with me and my sister, which was odd because she knew about our deals. Gran said no, because my cousin already has a car and a similar agreement with her parents, and corrected my aunt about our deals. She texted, "Yeah, okay, so just to be clear, you are not buying all the grandkids' cars? Because I know you bought me the car and she doesn't pay a dime because C has access to her bank accounts." I don't know if she actually went through my account or if she was bluffing, but I'm angry either way. My sister forced Gran to tell me she said this. Rule of thumb with her and my aunt is not to mention anything to anyone because everyone has too many things to deal with. They don't need to worry about this. I don't really agree, but I mostly followed it until now. I feel that because she directly brought me into it, I should be able to say whatever I want to whoever I want, especially since she's wrong and I have made payments on the car. My mom was angry and Uncle C said he would get himself removed as soon as he could, but Gran and Gramps think I was wrong to tell them what my aunt said. Gran specifically mentioned that it could cause problems with their marriage, but I know that any issues that come up because of this are all on my aunt, so I don't care what happens. Am I the idiot? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Not because of the privacy violation, it most likely didn't happen. Otherwise, your aunt would have seen the payments and would not have exposed herself like that. But because it's dangerous to have someone so greedy and shameless so close to your bank account. By saying it to your uncle, you probably blocked her potential access and protected yourself. Comment 2, not the idiot. It should cause problems with their marriage, but don't assume it's just your aunt at fault. It could be Uncle C, too. She had no business sticking her nose into your account and talking about it. You don't have to wait for him to remove himself from your account. You can do it by changing your account. Comment 3, not the idiot. It sounds like your grandparents have fostered a culture in your family of, if we pretend there are no problems and tell no one about any problems, then there are no problems, which lets people like your aunt get away with shoot they shouldn't. Now for the next story. I'm a 16-year-old female and I have my own room, which is something I always wanted as I was growing up. Finally, at the age of 12, I got my own room. Over the course of the 4 years, I decorated my room with posters and other knickknacks and trinkets. I also stick everything I find pretty, so there's a bunch of fragile shells, posters, keychains, and a lot of other stuff on my wall. I have a bookshelf which holds my decorative lamps, random mangas I got on discount, other books and comics, anime figurines, skincare products, and my jewelry box. My bed is filled with lots of plushies and stuffed animals. My parents told me that they were going to host a lunch party with their friends/mutuals and their kids. I was fine with that because I wouldn't be there for the first 2 hours of the party due to tuition. Also, the kids I thought were coming behaved decently, so I wasn't that worried. I come home and oh my God, my room is a mess. Some things are missing from my walls. Most of my trinkets are gone. Some of my anime figurines have their heads missing. My skincare products have been emptied out. My jewelry is either bent or missing a pair of earrings. And I found some kid on my bed humping my Build-A-Bear, which I got for my birthday. After about 30 minutes, I managed to find most of my missing things. But I have to go on a shopping run soon to replace my skincare products and all the other stuff since my parents aren't paying for the damage. The culprits were random kids who I have never seen before. Apparently, they were new to the country, and my parents wanted to host a get-together lunch or whatever. These kids tried to steal my stuff, and I was beyond pissed. I told their parents, but they dismissed my issues, saying kids will be kids. These kids kept coming in, trying to steal my stuff, color in my mangas, or wreck something. I had enough of their nonsense. These kids were aged 9, 13, and I believe they should be old enough to have some decency. So I kicked them out of my room. If they can't respect my space, then why should they be there in the first place? A couple of minutes later, a random grandma came and told me to allow her grandkid to chill in my room. I told her no and gave her the reason for it. She responded by saying that God would reward me for entertaining her grandkid, who is 13, and that she's going to die soon. And it's her last wish. She threatened me, saying that if I don't do this for her, I'll get sins. I told her no and guarded my room with my life for the next few hours of the get-together party. I told my friends this, and they told me that I should have been less harsh on the kids since they are only a few years younger than me. Here are the comments. Comment 1, no, not the idiot, and WTF. That grandmother sounds either like just a regular creep or a grade A religious nut job. I mean, God will reward you for entertaining my grandkid. Ew, that's a very weird phrasing. Did she mean like with children or something? And that's besides the fact that the kids trashed your room. Just so not the idiot. Comment 2, not the idiot. Those kids were acting like awful little gremlins, and their parents and yours didn't care that they completely ripped apart your room. Absolutely appalling behavior from literally everyone involved. Comment 3, not the idiot. If it's okay for those kids to behave like that in your room, then it's okay for them to behave like that anywhere else in the house. Therefore, they do not need to be in your room. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.